You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. The options market can be a confusing place. Sorting through the daily avalanche of data, alerts, updates, articles, and analysis to find the most important information is an overwhelming prospect. But now you have help. Welcome to the Options News Rundown, the only program that breaks through the noise to bring you the most important news and information from the world of options. Every day, we bring you the top 5 option stories curated by the options experts at theoptionsinsider.com, the premier source for options information. The Options News Rundown is brought to you by Market Taker Mentoring, the leader in options trading education. Get trader education, daily trade ideas, and more with a free 1-week trial of Market Taker Mentoring's Live Advantage Group coaching class by visiting markettaker.com/insider. And now it's time to break through the noise. It's time for your Options News Rundown.
Welcome to the Options News Rundown. Today is Tuesday, January 29th. Your usual host, Dan Passarelli, is on assignment. My name is Mark Longo. Let's get rolling by looking back at what was moving and shaking in the options market on Monday to help get you armed and prepared for your trading day on Tuesday. It was a very active day, and we saw NVIDIA dominating the tape in terms of overall equity options action with just a tick under 500,000 contracts on the tape. Actually pretty evenly split between calls and puts, with about 49% to the calls and 51% to the puts. Number 2 was AMD with about 320,000 contracts. Number 3, Vail, 293,000 contracts, about 42% to the calls, 58% to the puts. Slight put bias there. Number 4, Apple. Beloved Apple dropping down to the number 4 spot yesterday with only 292,000 contracts on the tape. Number 5, GE. Number 6, Bank of America. This one with a clear call bias, 65% of the action going up, of the nearly 250,000 contracts going up on the call side. Number 7, PCG, 208,000 contracts. Number 9, Micron, 172,000 contracts, only 43% of them going up on the call side of the ledger. Number 9, Caterpillar rocking the Dow and most of the indices yesterday with some pretty bad earnings, and as a result, taking it on the chin, but lighting it up to the tune of 170,000 contracts. And number 10, round out the top 10 yesterday, was Microsoft with 156,000 contracts on the tape. 62% of those were calls. All right, now let's look ahead to the earnings that are dominating the tape for Tuesday. Before the bell, we have Verizon, Pfizer, 3M, Biogen, Harley-Davidson, Corning, SAP, and many more. And then after the bell, have some of the names that everyone's been waiting for, including some of the names you guys love to trade options on, like Apple. They'll be reporting after the bell. They kind of let the cat out of the bag with their pre-announcement a few weeks ago. We'll see if anything's changed markedly between now and then. Of course, you also have AMD and eBay coming out after the bell, as well as Juniper Networks. So a lot of interesting things to keep an eye on after the bell on Tuesday. If you'd like to know what the market is pricing in terms of expectations for Apple's earnings, you have to look no farther than theoptionsinsider.com, where we have our earnings move reports delivered courtesy of our friends over there at Oratz. And if you look at the website today, you'll see Apple is up there amongst many of the other dozens of tickers that are profiled. At the time of the report, Apple was trading $157.76. They were pricing in $7.27 in terms of their expected earnings straddle. In the past, they've averaged about $7, actually $7.01 in terms of their average straddle price, and how much they've actually moved in the past. Well, that actually is a little bit more. That's about $8.48. So depending on how you're looking at that straddle, it could be a little bit pricey compared to their past straddles, or indeed in relation to their past moves, it could be a little bit cheap. If you dig into it a little bit further, look at the same quarter moves over the past few years. So Q1, obviously a big rock and rolling time for Apple earnings. They've actually averaged $9.62 in terms of movement. So by that measure, perhaps this month's straddle a little bit muted, but of course they did indeed pre-announce their earnings, so not quite the mystery that the earnings typically are. Let's also take a look at AMD. They were priced at $21.93 going into the time of this report. The market was pricing in a straddle of about $250 going into the earnings coming out after the bell tonight. In terms of past straddles, this is a little bit richer. They've averaged about $2.35. In terms of their actual moves that they've delivered in the marketplace, it's actually a little bit more, about $3.42. So maybe by that metric, perhaps a little bit undervalued. Of course, if you look to the same quarter moves over recent years, it's only been $1.69. So maybe by that metric, it is indeed a little bit expensive. And let's wrap it up with the other name a lot of you guys are watching after the bell on Tuesday. This is, of course, eBay. Coming into report time, they were trading $33.72, and the market was pricing in $1.91 in terms of that at-the-money straddle. The average of recent past expected moves is actually $1.95, so pretty much right in line with what the market is pricing right now. In terms of actual moves, eBay has actually delivered about $2.40 worth of moves in recent quarters. So maybe from that metric, a little bit underpriced. Let's look back to the same quarter, and actually, by the same quarter analysis, it is dramatically underpriced. They've moved $4.20 in previous Q1 announcements. So interesting food for thought there for AMD, eBay, and of course Apple. If you'd like more of those or many other tickers, they're all available for you at theoptionsinsider.com. Just type ORATS, ORATS, into the search bar. You'll find all of the earnings move reports like this, as well as the earnings move results reports, where you too can check out how your favorite names performed after their earnings announcements. Next up, we have a tale of two VIXs, or at least two new volatility indexes on the horizon for you to keep an eye on. First off, 2 weeks ago, we saw LedgerX announcing they're tossing their hat into the volatility index ring. This time, of course, in the realm of Bitcoin, announcing their own Bitcoin Volatility Index, ticker symbol LXVX, which they purport will provide a similar level of analysis to the VIX in terms of what's going on from a volatility perspective out there in the land of crypto. They're even going so far as to coin it the Bitcoin Fair Index. So it's pretty easy to see where they're drawing their inspiration from. However, not to be outdone, our friends over there at T3 Index are also throwing their hats into the Bitcoin Volatility Index fray. If you're saying to yourself, wait a minute, I know that name, it's because T3 Index are the folks behind the forthcoming Spikes, which is the attempt to create a VIX-like instrument on the popular SPY options out there. They said, why stop at SPY? Let's also take that same methodology and apply it to Bitcoin. And that's exactly what they did. The Bitcoin Volatility Index created by T3 will attempt to use OTC Bitcoin options to create their volatility index. Quotes for LXVX are available now at ledgerx.com. You can learn more about the forthcoming volatility index from T3 Index on our new Crypto Rundown program, available wherever you're listening to this fine program right now. And last but not least, we have the story that is dividing Wall Street. It's a tale of the dueling analyses, the dueling cost. Exactly how much did that fight over the border wall cost us? We're seeing many different competing analyses coming out of different firms to try to break down exactly how much the recent government shutdown ended up impacting the economy. First off, we have from S&P Global Ratings They determined that the fight over, indeed, the proposed $5 billion border wall cost roughly $6 billion in terms of furloughed workers and weakened economic activity. Next up, we have the analysis from the Congressional Budget Office that the government shutdown actually cost our economy about $11 billion. And then last up, we have the Committee for Responsible Federal Budget, aka the CRFB, estimating the cost of the shutdown. They're on the high end of the spectrum at $26 billion. So the moral of the story, no matter which of these different analyses you look at, no matter how you feel about the border wall, clearly the fight and the shutdown over it ended up impacting all of us perhaps a lot more than initially anticipated. Hopefully this near-term deal will cement into a longer-lasting arrangement and cooler and calmer heads will prevail down there in D.C. And that's going to do it for your Options News Rundown for Tuesday, January 29th. If you'd like more information on these or any other stories from the world of options, check out theoptionsinsider.com. Brand spanking new version of the site coming soon, so stay tuned for that. And of course, subscribe not just to the Options News Rundown, but to all of your favorite programs from our network. The easiest place to do that, of course, is on your podcast provider of choice. Just grab our network feed in iTunes or in Google Play or in Stitcher, Spotify, whatever platform you like, or just grab our mobile app. It's all baked in there as well. And we'll see you tomorrow for more of the Options News Rundown.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.